And we're back, finally, back here in our studio in Flint, Michigan. And guess what's coming up? The super snow moon is coming up this Tuesday, February 19th at 10:53 a.m. Eastern Time, if you're wanting to do your magical workings, right, as it is at its brightest and largest of all of the super moons this year. This is the second in a trilogy of the super moons. We had this happen last year as well, January, February, and March. And if you're into photography, this would be a really good moon to get your telescopes out and start taking pictures of it. See if you can take some pictures through the telescope, because we all know that those moon pictures never look quite the same as seeing the real thing. So experiment with that if you have it at home. And I hope you were able to see on Wednesday we had a comet that went overhead. In Michigan the skies were pretty cloudy, so you might not have seen it, but it was one that you could see with the binoculars. So we have a lot of that wonderful energy that's really zippy and zesty moving through our atmosphere currently, as well as these great supermoons. So sometimes you can even do some meditation with photos too. So if you take a picture of this wonderful supermoon, then print it out, or you can use it digitally, of course, too, and really meditate with that photo. The things that we'll be talking about tonight are how to use these aspects within your daily life, so you can use, by looking at that photo, really bring in even more of the essence of the moon too. I did that last week when I was in Arizona with an object that I'm hoping to be able to purchase, but I had to wait on it a little bit. So feeling where you can tap into those energies through the photo sometimes works as well. So as we've discussed previously, there are many names for every single moon that's out there, because people were naming them. Many of the native tribes were naming them, and they were far apart from each other, so they didn't communicate with each other about what the names were. And also the English were sometimes naming the moons as well. We used to go by a lunar calendar before we switched over to the solar calendar, which is where we would have had 13 months instead of 12 months. And now we just go by the 12. So it's a really interesting thing, though. One of the other names that really resonated with me with this moon was the hunger moon, because you can imagine back when they were going by the lunar calendar, February was a month where people would often go pretty hungry. It was much harder to find food, to hunt for food when it's out in the snow, when the temps have dropped sometimes quite a bit below zero, as we recently experienced also in Michigan and throughout that whole upper part of the country, those plummeting temperatures. Just imagine if you had no grocery stores, if you had no structure that had heat within it, how life would be. How would you survive? You might decide to call this moon, in that instance, the shoulder to shoulder around the fire moon, as you're trying to get warm within your community and keeping that body heat in, surrounding the bonfire. That's actually what the Wishram people of the Pacific Northwest called this moon. The snow moon is definitely because we see so much snowfall in February. But again, that depends on the geographic area. Some places get more snow in January, some get more in March. There's a guy who's been researching the snowfalls for the past 30 years and has some really interesting data on that, but that's for another conversation. So another moon name for this is the bone moon. That was the Cherokee of the Southwest that would call it that. And the storm moon. And with storms, it's really interesting. There's been kind of an old farmer's tale that the storms will always increase around the full moon and the new moon. And so that researcher, that's one of the things he looked into as well. And he did find that within 3 days after the full moon and also the new moon, storm activity really does increase. We do tend to get a bit more of the rainy, stormy, thunder, and lightning type of weather, and which can really enhance your magical workings too. If you haven't already looked into weather magic, that might be something you want to add into your practice. Storms have a lot of exciting energy, as do the full moons and the new moons. All of them have different types of energy, so know what it is you're working on, what you're wanting to bring into your life, and see if that fits with it before you just jump right into it. But know that it's you're pretty apt to be able to find some of that stormy weather right after the full moon. And within 3 days before or after the full moon, you're still working with those full moon energies a bit. So if you're going about 3 days before the full moon heightens into its peak, you might be working a little bit more with some of those waxing energies. If you're wanting to build things, to create things with the full moon, then do it as it's building. If you're working about 3 days after the full moon, then you're going to still be having those full moon energies, but you'll want to think about what you're clearing out, what you're releasing, and what you're letting go of. As the full moon has reached its fullness, you've reached that maximum of what you're creating within that cycle, and you're ready to release, let go, clear away whatever you're done with, clear away whatever no longer serves you, so you can start that new cycle again with a clean slate, being able to have some empty space for the next things that you want to build. So last year, 2018, is when we had what's considered a dark moon or a black moon in the month of February, because there was no moon in the entire month of February, that whole 28 days, depending on what time zone you were in. There were a couple areas where their time date changed just in time to have a full moon in February. And so both January and March had 2 moons. The second moon of the month was considered the blue moon in those cases. And working with the magic of a blue moon is always fun, because you're able to make whatever you want to wish for come true with that blue moon. Where we have a specific meaning for the other 12 names, the blue moon really gives you a lot of play factor. So the snow moon snow itself has this way of blanketing a protective layer over a lot of things. When you think about the purpose of the snow, a lot of the animals that are hibernating in the cold, that snow will create some protective warmth, holding in their body heat, sealing in their dens. And for plants that are outside, that fresh blanket of snow can help kind of seal in and protect the layers that are underneath the ground. And at the same time, snow can bring quite a harshness too, because it is a lot harder to move around in. It is a lot colder. It also kills off a lot of things. So just as it has some protective qualities, it kills off other things because of the cold that comes with it, that traps it underground. And we are always thankful in some aspects for the cold moon, because it does get rid of some of the invasive parasites and some of the bugs that are outside that need that cold to help diminish those populations, because they thrive in the warmer months. And at the same time, it helps to bring that protective. So everything really is balance in life, protection and that harshness. So you can really bring both of those into your life as you're figuring out how to work with this wonderful snow moon. So take time now to lay down your plans for the coming year. It's a really good time to, as we are always focusing on this wheel, which we're going to turn in just a minute, it's a good time to really think about what you're planning. During the winter months, we're always talking about planting the seeds in the spring, planning out what you want to do in the winter. When you have plans that are really well laid out and you know what your goals are, you know what your expectations, you know what you want to do, that's going to really help you to succeed and to draw that in. So many times people know they want to be happy, or they want to feel good, or they want to be successful, but they don't know what that means to them. And if you can't put words to it, if you can't name it, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to actually create it in life. So this is the time to lay down those plans, to come up with what you want in the coming year, and also to enjoy the closeness of loved ones. This is the time where we tend to stay inside and bundled up a lot more, in the colder climates at least. And so it's time to really enjoy that closeness with those around you. And journal, journal, journal. Write things down. Use your gratitude box if you're using a gratitude box, or use your journal if you're just writing in a journal. But really get your brain working by writing things down. What you think of is what you attract in life, and what you write down is even more what you bring into your life. It's a way to really solidify those plans, to make them concrete. And this time of the year is really a time of soul searching. This moon is really known as a time for cleansing, which is also what the snow does. The snow comes, it blankets everything, it washes away. Water is a great element. Water represents emotions. Water is a lot of what we are made up of as well. And so if you use all of those elements together, it's a good time to cleanse yourself, cleanse your emotions, cleanse out whatever has been in your life so far. It might be good, it might be bad, whatever it is. Even on all of the spectrums, we need to periodically clear out certain things. So use this time to cleanse out and look deeply into yourself. Look at what you want. What do you want to get out of life? What do you want to create this year? And as you're doing this soul searching, really look into seeing if you love yourself. Do you love your plans as well? Those are really important things to bring in, because you need to love yourself to be able to really succeed and to be happy. That happiness is going to come from within. So see what you can do. If there are things that you need to forgive within yourself or within your life, if there's things maybe that you feel like you've done wrong, mistakes you've made, this is the moon to forgive all of that too, to let it go, forgive it, clear it, cleanse it, and bring in the love for yourself. It's a really good time to do fertility or magic for fertility and strength as well too. This is that season of year where a lot of animals are becoming more fertile as they're hunkered up in their dens. And so if that's something you want in your life, it doesn't necessarily have to mean physically. It can mean whatever your plans are. As you're journaling, writing, laying down your plans, think about how you can bring in resources to make those plans come to life, make those plans fertile, and then bring in the strength. It takes a lot of strength to move around in an area with so much snow. It takes a lot of strength to walk through it, to shovel it, all of the work that goes into it. Well, that translates as well into your lives. So this is a time to build strength, physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever aspect within your life. Maybe it's strength within relationships. Maybe it's strength to stick to the plans that you make. Whatever areas it is that you need strength, this is a great moon to do magic for that as well. So Imbolc is where we have the lambing season. We just were at Yule, December 21st, and we're going to go ahead and switch this over very carefully, hopefully, to Imbolc. And it stayed. And so Imbolc, there's a couple different translations to this. It's the midpoint between the Samhain and the spring equinox. So we're right in the midst of the planting season. The planting time for some would start right at Samhain, because this is the last of the harvest festivals. This is where you've had these 3 harvest festivals here, so you've pulled in all of your crops. All of the work that you did the last year came into fruition right here at Samhain, and then you can start kind of making your plans. You're still enjoying the bounty of the harvest, and then you're fully set into making those plans once you hit Yule, and then you start really carrying those through. As you're thinking about it here, you're carrying them through your journaling, you're writing it, you're starting to make it more concrete here, because you're going to start planting the seeds once you come over here. And so it's really a great time to do that soul searching, to really go inward. Imbolc is a Gaelic festival that heralds the dawning of spring. So just as dawn light just starts, it's before you really see much of the sun's light coming up. You can just see it peeking over the distance. That's kind of what we have here at Imbolc. It feels like it's right in the depth of winter. It's usually February 1st, sometimes it's February 2nd, but it feels like it's right in the depth of the cold of winter, but you know that spring is coming around the corner. You might be able to see little tiny signs, depending on the year, starting to spring up here. They call it the lambing season because the ewes are often just becoming fertile at this time of year, and that's how they would know that spring is starting to dawn. Halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. Imbolc is an Irish word that actually means in the belly. Again, they think that might be why they used it, referencing the lambing season. And it celebrates the goddess Bridget, or Breed would be the more appropriate way to say her name. Christians ended up taking over the holiday, as they did with several, and they converted it to the Feast of Saint Bridget instead of just speaking of the goddess Breed. Bridget was said to visit people's houses, and she would bring people protection, that she would help protect their homes and their livestock. People would invoke them and ask for her blessings to protect their houses and their loved ones within, all of the animals within and without. And this time of year, during this festival, they would often set a bed for the goddess Breed within their house and give some offerings of food or drink left there. And then people would often put their clothes outside, some of their clothes in front of the house, asking Breed to bless them as she passed by. They often, in the villages in Ireland, and also the Isle of Man in Scotland, they would create Breed dolls within the village too, and all of the young girls would gather together and carry the Breed doll from house to house, in heralding this celebration. People would hold feasts and have bonfires. They would visit the holy wells, and it was really a great time, again, to do that soul searching. Sometimes people would do divination, both to see what would be coming in the future, some doing it to foretell who they would marry or possibly what they needed to do, and some would do it just to get confirmation that they're on the right path, because again, this is where you're laying down your plan. So doing a little bit of divination to see if you're on the right track, or if you need a little bit of other advice. Maybe you need to turn and face a little bit of a different direction and bring in other resources. Using that can really help. Some of the passage tombs in Ireland are actually aligned so that the sunrise occurs in just the right spot at Imbolc, and some actually are also aligned with Samhain. It's not as often talked about, the ones that are aligned there. But as we look this year into how to bring the sabbats and the esbats into your daily life, I have a few questions for you to ponder and think about. What is growing within you would be the first one, because again, Imbolc being in the belly, being that time of fertility, any plans that you have, anything that you're wanting to create in your life is something you're gestating. It starts within the sacral chakra, which is that second chakra. So what is in your belly? What are you thinking about? What you think about is what you create. What do you need to forgive in your life? Do you need to forgive yourself of something so you can let go of and release guilt? Or do you need to forgive other people so you can let go of something, release it, and move forward? What do you need to clear within your life? There's a reason people call it spring cleaning, because this is, again, that time of the year where you're laying down your plans so you can plant the seeds. To plant the seeds, you need to clear out the garden first. So what do you need to clear in your life? And then the big question, what do you want to create this year? Is it a sensation? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to feel like you're succeeding? Do you want to feel closer to other people? Do you want to have clarity? All of those things need to be pinpointed down into more concrete, measurable, specific things so that you can achieve them. Know what that means. So write down, what do you want to create in this life, and then be as specific as you possibly can, and then coming up with how to get there as well. We'll get more into the how to get there as we progress a little bit more closer into spring, but this is where you're really laying out, what do you want? How will you know when you have what you want? That's a good one for just wanting to be happy. How will you know when you're happy? Because it's not just a sensation, it's about being able to have needing to know what will get you there. Happiness really comes from within. And so what do you feel like you need to get there? It's not going to be things that you have in your life. Happiness does come from within. So figure out what you need, what you want for this next year. What do you want to create this year? And where are you going to need more strength? Anytime we're building things, anytime we're creating in life, we do come to different points where life can be a little bit challenging sometimes. So where do you pull your strength from? What aspects with your plans that you're laying down do you think you'll need more strength to come in? So if you spot that ahead of time, you can figure out where you're going to pull that strength from. And then where do you want to call in protection? Breed was really wonderful about bringing protection. So what will make you feel secure? What aspects of your life do you feel like you have security, and what aspects of your life do you feel like you might want a little bit more protection, and then working on that too. So if you want to call in protection from Breed, we are a little bit past the holiday, but that doesn't mean that you can't call in those aspects still to bring them into your life. And one of the things they use in the Tibetan culture is the dorji, which is a really interesting thing. It's also called a thunderbolt, but just having that in the house is said to also bring protection. So, and this can be physically, literally, or it might just be how do you feel protected in your life. It can be metaphorical as well. So it is cold, but a ritual that you can do to really celebrate, bring in both the aspects of this beautiful snowy moon and Imbolc together would be to have a hearth fire. Maybe you want to do a bonfire outside, maybe bring some friends over and do a shoulder to shoulder around the bonfire celebration of the moon. But think about what you want to release when you're at this bonfire. Doing it on Tuesday would be fantastic because it's right under the energies of the full moon. Monday night would be really just as good as Tuesday because the full moon really peaks at 10:53 in the morning Eastern time, so Monday night would be about as close as doing it Tuesday night. And think about what you want to release. What do you want to forgive, cleanse, and let go? Write it on a piece of paper and throw it into the bonfire and watch it burn. Notice how it burns too. If it burns very slowly, it might be that you need to do a little bit more work on releasing it. It might be something that you're having a hard time letting go of. You want to let it go, but it's hard to let it go. And there's nothing wrong with knowing that something is harder to let go. It's commendable that you're ready to let it go. If that you throw that paper in the hearth fire and it just burns up instantly and it catches fire and it blazes and it's out fast, then that means you were really ready to let that go and it just is releasing. It's great confirmation to see that just poof up in smoke and know that it's released, know that it's gone. So think about what you want to forgive, cleanse, release, let it go, burn it in that hearth fire, and then allow yourself to really feel the warmth of the flames. Feel the protective energies of Breed around you as you're standing near that fire. If you don't have the ability to have a whole bonfire or hearth fire, you can use a candle for this as well. Put your hands over the candle flame and feel the warmth. Feel the protective energies of that candle flame moving into you, moving around to you. Maybe even kind of bringing it into you using your hands, bringing that smoke into your heart chakra, feeling that energy expanding through your body, feeling it all expanding all around you. And if you don't want to invoke Breed, you can just invoke the protective energies of the universe. They're all names when it really comes down to it. Energy is energy, and it's the concept behind it. It's your intent behind it that's what you're really bringing in. And so then take a moment to journal what your plans are for this year while you're there with the fire raging in front of you. Journal what you want this year. Journal what your ideas are, what you want to create this year. If you're not sure and you just have no idea what to start writing, just start journaling. Just start writing words down, and then the mind will start going, the hand will be flowing, and then the ideas will start to flow. You'll start to see them coming through onto your paper shortly. Even if you aren't sure what you're writing right at first, just getting that pen moving on the paper, start journaling your plans. And you might want to even add in a little bit of divination. If you are familiar with any divination systems, whether you are just sitting in meditative space and seeing what flows to you from the universe, or maybe you enjoy runes or tarot or scrying in a darkened mirror, whatever it is that you prefer, doing a little bit of divination. even just watching how that paper burns can be a slight form of divination, showing you what you're looking at ahead. If you want to write certain things down and see how other things burn in the fire, that can give you an idea too. You can ask, if you're using a candle, you can ask the candle flame about the plans that you have and ask it to show you yes and see if the candle flame goes really high, and to show you no, see if the candle flame stays really low, or maybe it will be the reverse of that. And then ask your questions to the candle flame and see what comes through as you're practicing the divination, getting confirmation for what your plans are for this coming year. And then you're going to want to look at your assets that are around you. What strengths do you have that will help you succeed with the plans that you've written down? Do you love the plans that you wrote down, or are you just halfway committed to them because you felt like you should write something and you're not really in love with your plans for the year? Then maybe you need to change it up a little bit. Do you love yourself too? That's always a good question to ask when you're writing down your plans, because if you love yourself, then you're going to be in your corner wanting to succeed, wanting yourself to succeed, knowing you deserve to succeed, knowing that you deserve to have your plans come to fruition. It's really important to do that as well. Who and what is in your corner would be another thing to contemplate as you're doing this. And where do you need to bring in more strength? Again, as you recognize those points ahead of time, it will be easier to not feel thrown off when you find certain areas where there was a weakness or where you needed a little bit more strength. And instead you'll know, I needed to have this in my corner for that, and you can pull it in ahead of time. Celebrate those that you love around you. Be specific and have measurable goals. And all of these things are going to really help you succeed through this. So I hope this really helps you to understand how to bring the magic into your life as you're working with the snow moon, the super snow moon, and then also Imbolc, and bringing in all of that wonderful energy of Imbolc, and bringing the essence of the Esphits, all of the moon workings into your life. I appreciate that you've joined us this week. I love hearing your comments. I love your feedback and seeing your likes and loves on our videos. I love it when you share videos as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And I hope you've been enjoying all of these beautiful moons that Man in the Moon Metalworks have been creating for us. As you can see, our moon calendar is really filling out on this wheel. I can't wait to add in our snowy moon. It's so hard to have a favorite with these because each one is so unique and so detailed and so incredibly amazing. If you are interested in having any of these moons in your life, or if you want to add the whole collection to your house, they can make wonderful Christmas ornaments. You can hang them from the windows in your house, or a myriad of other things. Certainly you can have them on your altar if you're doing magical workings, and they can really add a fantastic energy for that. So definitely let us know if you are interested in ordering any of the moons from Man in the Moon Metalworks. Thanks.